Hi, everybody, and welcome back. My name's Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. So, today I wanted to talk about you remember that fable from when we were all kids? It's super old. I think it was one of Aesop's about the ant and the grasshopper. And all summer long, the grasshopper lay in the sun and eated the grass and played his music and just played and lazed about. And that was amazing. And he had a great time. And we've all been the grasshopper at some point. Even the hardest working among us have at some point done the grasshopper thing, even if it was for a short time. You know you have. And then there was the ant. And the ant was always prepared. And all summer long, he stored up his grains and his food for the winter so he'd have food to eat. And the grasshopper would laugh, and the ant would keep working. And then when the fall and the wind and the winter came and there was no longer the grass to eat or the sun to laze about in, the grasshopper begged the ant for food. The ant refused, and the grasshopper starved. And in some versions, the ants laugh at the grasshopper. They're super mean, and he dies. And other ones, he just is hungry all winter. Because we all know a grasshopper could just like not eat for an entire winter because their lifespans are so long, right? But I think that we can learn a lot from both characters in that story. Obviously, right now, I'm feeling like we need to be more like the ant because we are all getting squeezed so hard. And I feel like for some of us, we have been preparing for this our whole lives. Okay, so a little bit about me. Every time I have tried to be the ant, I have gotten squashed. I definitely do better as the grasshopper, ironically enough. And so the factor that I am really saying, let's try and be the ant right now, is kind of ironic. So in I always worked multiple jobs in my 20s. Some of them were really crazy and zany. Um, I would bartend at multiple bars. That was not a crazy one. That was just, bartending. I sold speakers out the back of my car. That was super fun, actually. That I made bank. Um, I was a loan originator. So I was selling speakers on the back of my van, and I got into an argument with my partner. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to go get a big girl job. And so now you have to understand my partner and I had worked together in multiple jobs at multiple places. Like for a few years, it was just like we followed each other. And we were so inseparable that when we would say we were partners, people thought like we meant like a couple partners, and that's not what we meant at all. Um Anyways, I digress. But I went and in 2007 I got a job as a loan originator in the mortgage industry, or spring of 2007, like spring, summer, like May, June. Um, Started doing well. August, I made like 10 grand that month. I was like, this is great. I got my license. Life was good. September, I was set to make $30,000, like $30,000 that month. All of my clients were on board. Everything was set. September 2007, everything started falling out in underwriting. And I was having people jump through hoops, bring me extra documents, and they were. And I ended up making $500 that month. And it was the maximum we could get on the one loan that was able to close. And it was actually $500 was the total fee for the company. So instead of me just getting my half of 250, my boss was like, you know what? Just take the whole thing. I think he felt bad for me. It had been a really, really rough month. Or maybe July I made the money, and August is when it fell out. Yeah. Or not, I don't know, sometime August or September. And at that point I knew the housing market was crashing. Nobody listened to me. Everybody I knew laughed at me. But I knew the housing market was crashing. And sure enough, 2008, it crashed. But I also felt like I had some insight information. I had insight. I knew about these builders who had really screwed up loans, who had put mortgages on people's houses and not like taking them off. And so like people were going through the refinancing process and finding out they had like 3 mortgages, 2 of which were taken out by the builder and just never paid off. And it was a terrible mess. For that, when I was 19, I sold cell phones and I decided to have only a cell phone. So this is like 98, 99, 19. Yeah, it was 19. So 98. And everybody laughed at me. And I said, one day, nobody's going to have a landline. I mean, why bother? And I didn't get a landline when I moved out, and people said it was irresponsible and it was dangerous. But I looked at how much it cost me to have a cell phone. I looked at the factor that I had free nights and weekends, and I could balance everything. And I said, why would I get a landline? When I mean, why am I going to pay an extra like 50, 60, 70 bucks? Whatever it was for a landline when I can have just the cell phone. And everybody laughed at me. And sure enough, how many of y'all have a landline now? I bet you not many. But again, I looked and I saw, and I gave evidence, but it wasn't enough. And then pandemic actually took me by surprise. The pandemic, I didn't like the big girl job I had gotten up here in Illinois. Went back to Florida to work as a server for a season. Called my old boss and I was like, hey, if I were to come down for a season, what are the chances of me being able to work there again? I was like, I need this, that, and the other. And she's like, you left on good terms. It's like, you're a really good server, so absolutely you can come back. Went back. Night I got back, everybody was like, why does she get, like, all the new people are like, why does she get an 8-table section, including the new manager who'd never met me? And she was like, because she can handle it. So life was going great, and then the pandemic hit, and again everything crashed. So I have had personal situations, I have had situations where I have participated in the greater social structure and seen disaster. And while I am not a conspiracy theorist, I 100% am not, I do make observations. Eggs are not coming back down. They aren't. I mean, maybe for you they are, but in my area they aren't. I was going to Food for Less and getting them for $2.99, and now they're up to $3.49 a dozen. Y'all watching this are probably sitting there saying, why is this girl complaining about $3.50 for eggs? But at Meijer, they're like 6-ish. But here's the other thing, and this is what I find absolutely bizarre. Eggland's Best has held their price. Happy Egg has held their price. Store brands are through the roof. So clearly something going on. Meat prices. I've noticed meat prices are not. So we're now in Lent, and traditionally during Lent, fish come down. And as you approach Easter, eggs normally get cheaper too, except for the past few years because of the bird flu. But Eggs were always cheaper. Like, certain foods are cheaper at certain times of the year. Like turkey is cheaper around Thanksgiving, butter is cheaper around Christmas. Eggs were always cheaper around Easter, but fish is cheap during Lent because that's the majority of what people are eating during Lent. Or when people eat fish the most. Like the way my grandma so I was raised Catholic, and the way my grandma explained it to me was initially it was just that Catholics had to give up or had to abstain from something that we were supposedly able to choose. Now, mind you, this was like an 80-year-old woman who also talked to me about all sorts of crazy stuff. So I don't know if it's necessarily a reliable source, but apparently fishermen in Italy needed to sell more fish or something, and so that's how it became fish. Like that's the folklore or story behind it. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. But fish has always been cheaper around this time of year, but it's not. This year, it's not. Grocery prices, the sales. Now, if you know me, you know I shop sales, I coupon, I do all sorts of things. It's not there. The sales are not there. It is not cheap. Everything is so expensive right now. Gas is up like 50 some cents near me since January. We have a lot going on worldwide. I know other countries are concerned about how everything is going to play out on the world stage and how their economies are going to be impacted as well. And I don't care about your political leaning. No matter what, we're all going to have to tighten our belts. So right now we all need to be the ant. We need to be planting our garden, and we need to be harvesting and saving our money and paying down any debt you have and preparing. I am actually going to be making some bigger expenditures over the next few months. If you've been watching, you know that I decided that I'm really going to go all out with my garden this year. So I have been saving money from my food budget, and I'm going to be spending that on the garden. I'm going to spend like $900 and some on dirt, which sounds insane, but it is a planting mix. It is a dump truck full of dirt delivered. My neighborhood actually was a quarry at one point, so not the great soil that I grew up with, and that is part of why I think I may have been having some trouble in my area with growing things and why everything's been so weird. So I'm going to have a combination of container gardens, vertical gardens, raised garden beds, and planting in the ground. I mean, something's going to grow. I don't care if I spend $3,000 and grow a single stinking tomato at this point. It's pure stubbornness. I mean, I do care, but I had my plumber out today to fix the hot water heater broken. He came out and fixed that and fixed the leak and everything, and he's gonna fix the problem. He figured out how. He was able to pretty much look at it and know, but he explained to me how he could fix my issue with the water going in and out, and or the outside water, because I explained to him, I want irrigation and stuff. So he we talked about soaker hoses and different options there, because he also his family gardens, they have a big garden. I've known the family for years. They actually moved in next to my grandparents when I was a teenager, I want to say. God, yeah, I must have been. Yeah, I must have been a teenager, because I remember their little daughter on her tricycle. She was just this itty bitty cute as a button thing. And based on her age now, yeah, I would have been a teenager. And they're the nicest family, but they have this big yard with this big garden and everything, and nicest people in the world. And so when I was explaining to him all the different things I wanted, he actually was really good about helping me find some solutions and giving me the words I needed when I was trying to explain it. Like, you want a soaker hose, that's what you're describing, and stuff. So I've known these people for years, and they've seen me go through all sorts of stages. Um, and they're just really good people. So I know I've got the irrigation problem solved, the dirt problem solved. Uh, you know, I've been talking to people about that, but I want to be having food that I grow. I'm going to be catching fish. I am if I could own chickens in my neighborhood, I would. I have a feeling if I'm successful with the garden that soon enough I will be able to talk them into the chicken variants. I mean, at least, I don't know, maybe ducks. Maybe I'll get ducks. They wouldn't notice. I live on a lake. They wouldn't notice if I had ducks. And I'm sure my neighbors, I know at least one family would totally be like, no, those ducks are wild. They just happen to like Melissa's yard. Is we all have duck eggs. So, start planning, start preparing. I have some beans that I got from the store ready. If y'all know, I have still probably have 25 pounds of chicken in my freezer. Ground turkey, ground meat, tons of food. I could seriously spend like $10-15 on groceries for the next few weeks and be okay. A few months probably. So just start planning and preparing. If you can work extra hours and work overtime now, do it. Plant a garden. Prepare for hard times, because I've now lived through multiple hard times in my life. Some self-inflicted, some circumstantial, some societal. But I've hit a point where I've started to notice, and I'm seeing a lot of grasshoppers out there. And I mean, granted, I know that the majority of you watching this are my aunts. You're probably more aunts than I am. Y'all are prepared and frugal, and I am impressed, and I love how y'all share tips and tricks, and you're so amazing. But I also want this to be for everybody. I want the grasshoppers to be able to get something from this as well, because I don't see it getting easier anytime soon. I feel like we're, and I'm not one, I really like to look at the positive, and I really, really like to be hopeful, and I daydream and I fantasize, and I'm totally a head in the clouds type girl. But I've done this before. I've been here before. I've seen this happen before. And just like everybody laughed at me with the phone and laughed at me with the mortgage and everything, this time not as many people are laughing. This time a lot of people believe that we're going for hard times. But I think that even the people who realize, I think a lot of them don't think it's going to hit them. They think they're going to be protected. They don't think it's going to be as bad as it is. I think it's going to be really tough. I remember the layoffs in 2007, 2008. I remember people losing their jobs. I remember how tough it was. I remember people getting demoted and pay cuts and losing houses and losing cars and being stuck. I mean, I remember how bad it was. I was young. I'd gotten myself a big girl job. I was going to be successful and buy myself a house. And yeah. But be prepared. So, whatever way you can be the ant, whatever way you can be prepared, whether it's stocking up on pantry essentials, whether it's saving money for a rainy day, whether it's starting a garden, learning a skill, fishing, be the ant. Work the overtime, do what, like right now, work your ass off, because I have feeling, I mean, how many employees is Target going to need when people can no longer afford to shop at Target or Walmart or any of them? I just happen to choose Target. When we're all broke, when nobody can afford to order from Amazon, what's going to happen to all those warehouse employees? Because I don't think Bezos is going to say, oh, well, it's slowed down. So now instead of having to do 273 orders this hour and wear a diaper, y'all can take your time. No, he's going to do massive layoffs and tell everybody to do 300 orders that hour. So look at your life situation and look at what you have to do and figure out a way to prepare and start preparing for worst case scenarios. I'm not saying don't go and buy one of those stupid stinking meal buckets. It's like 60 meals for, $600. Like, no. I mean, buy things that'll stay in your pantry. There's a pantry lady who I watch sometimes, something Sutton or something. I'll see if I can find her channel and link it. But she has a lot of good information on hers about like things that you can store forever, like white rice and beans and wheat as long as it's not ground and stuff like that. So, do that. Figure out how you can save money. Just, it's time to start planning. It's time to start preparing. And it's time to start being ready so that when hard times really hit, you're ready. Anyways, I know it's been very doom and gloom. Nobody wants to think about the ant and the grasshopper and how we have to all step it up, but I'm sorry, we do. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa. This year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. Today's tip is to figure out what you can do to better prepare for a financial disaster, whether it be socially or circumstantially, whether it happens to only you or all of you. We all need to start being prepared, because the thing is too is that if you're prepared and it doesn't happen, you're okay. But if you're not prepared and it does, then you're not okay. So it's better to be prepared and not need to be as prepared than to not be prepared and need to be prepared. I don't know if I said that right, but anyways, you get the point. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa. This year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.